All right, everyone. We're going to be starting in a couple of minutes. Those of you who are on the Zoom call, came through the webinar, thank you for joining us. Thanks for having your calendar on. Your camera on. If you could please go in on the chat, tell me where you're from. Usually we say how the weather is, but it seems like the weather's nice everywhere. But go ahead and put in where you guys are from. And we got more people joining us. Welcome Ernest, Nabil, welcome Nabi. We got a bunch of people on TikTok live joining. So get a piece of paper and a pencil and a pen and your drink, and we're gonna start here soon, and then we'll let people come on and ask questions either at the end, or they can do it while I'm speaking. They can put it in the chat or raise your hand. I don't mind being interrupted. So welcome. We do this webinar every Thursday night at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 Eastern time. This is the fast moving consumer goods, launching real consumer brands in 90 days. So let me tell you a little bit about who we are. We have the largest community of fast-moving consumer good brands and suppliers on LinkedIn. We have about 41,000 members. Our goal this year is to get to 50,000 members. So if I can ask a favor, all of you that are on LinkedIn, well, if you're not on LinkedIn, you should be on LinkedIn, especially if you're a founder or a business owner for a consumer goods brand. Go on to LinkedIn, look under my name, Sandro Pianconi, and Fast Moving Consumer Goods. Join the group. You're going to get a lot of free content, a lot of free cool stuff right on that. So please go in and join. We're going to talk about a blueprint, what you need to do to launch a product in 90 days. You're going to get the whole blueprint, avoiding costly mistakes and finding the right manufacturer and so on. You'll get to know me a little bit better when we get to that slide, but we have 30 years experience in the fast moving consumer goods. Me and my partner, Jorge, has launched over 1,000 items, and we've taken 2 companies public. So a little bit about one of our sponsors. It's CBG Experience. They're sponsoring the webinar today. CBG Experience, for those of you who have done trade shows, we know how expensive it is and how much work it is. We just got back last week from the NAMA show. The NAMA show is a expo that's put on once a year. It was in Los Angeles. One of the sponsors was ViStar, and it's for the industry, the vending industry. And so CBG had 2 large booths. So basically think of it as an incubator for small brands, emerging brands, where he rents a 50 by 50 space, gives you a booth, like a 3 foot by 3 foot booth. And then you have your product there. He sets it all up for you. You just show up looking good the day of and do it. You don't have to set up. Obviously, there's certain people that say, hey, I can afford the booth. But just so you know, a $10,000 booth, a 10 by 10 space of $10,000, isn't really $10,000, right? It ends up being $20,000 by the time you add different things to it, carpet, they rent you a chair, a TV, so on. So this is all set up for you. You just show up ready to go. The cool thing about this is he's marketing it, we're marketing it to get buyers to come to visit our booth. But also, once you do that, we share the lead. So we had 20 different brands there, and those brands all shared the lead. So we had about 60 leads on our own. So we'll probably end up with 300 leads. But CBG Experience, if you want to look them up, is one of our sponsors. And if you were to come into our incubator or launch a brand, you're going to want to do certain shows, right? So that's the cool thing, right? Here's the anatomy of a successful product launch. It looks like a lot, but don't worry. We're going to go one by one by one. It's not brain surgery, but you need to do the sequence correctly, right? That's part of it, is you need to do it exactly in a way to do it. And we're going to go step by step to show you. And by the way, you can, after we're done, we put these videos up on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel. You can go look at it any time. Or if you set an appointment with me, which we'll do at the end, we'll show you how to go and set up an appointment for us. You can then, I'll email you this. Okay. So Obviously, we have a structured blueprint from launching in 90 days, right? So it's a 12-week incubator that we bring people into the incubator, and we'll explain to you how it is, how we can work, and then how you come up with, instead of an unclear product on the left, you come up with an actual product at the end, right? Here's probably one of the most staggering. We like numbers, right? We're all about numbers. This is a Nielsen report that 85% of all packaged good brands fail within the first year. Okay, so obviously, why is that? And it's not so much because the product was bad or because the founder didn't have what it took. It was just poor execution. They did the order of operations in reverse, and they did a lot of guesswork, right? That's what we find when we go back and talk to founders that have closed, why it was. So they could have all the passion in the world, the best product. They just did the sequence of events in the wrong sequence. So we actually, what we explain, we cut it into two phases, right? Phase number one is foundation product fit. Phase two is launch and exit strategy, right? So we break them up into those things, and we'll go one by one to explain it. So with no roadmap, that's how we find most people. They don't have a roadmap, right? So they have costly mistakes, and then after they've made the mistakes, then they have fear of doing it. So there's where we see. So they have an idea, there's confusion, expensive decision, then they get stressed, and then delayed, and then they want to give up. We usually see them at, the stress and delay side. And why we're doing these webinars is to give you the groundwork so you're able to do it and not get into the confusion, expensive decision part of it. So a couple of myths, right? Let's get past the myths, right? We meet entrepreneurs that they say, hey, my idea is so great, it's going to sell by itself, right? I'm sorry to tell you guys, that's not how it works, right? Great products fail daily, right? It's because of margins. There wasn't enough margins, the positioning, the sequence of survival, not just the idea, right? I usually give people homework. So if you want to see all the products that failed, go to your local 99-cent store, right? Every town has them. Some have 2 or 3. Go and see the section where they have energy drinks, and you'll see how many failed, right? It's a common theme, and it's really because it wasn't that the product wasn't good. You could buy it, and the product's great, right? It's just that they did it in the wrong sequences, right? The other myth is that people think that they got to have the product first, right? I gotta come up with the product before they think about the business, right? We're going to turn that myth on its head. Brand positioning and margin strategy has to guide the formulation, right? So we're going to talk about that. Business structure drives all product decisions. And then I should order a large quantity to get the best price. This is probably where we see the biggest failure, is that people jump in, they talk to a co-man, the co-man says, hey, my MOQ is a truckload, and they got to get the best truckload. So what we do is, again, we turn that myth on its head. We have to have a proof of concept, a minimal viable product, make sure it works. Don't worry about your cost of goods sold. You need to get in there. And then what we don't want to see is that you have all this stock that's not selling because there was the formula was probably not right, or there was something wrong with the printing, the can. We've seen it all, right? So we have what's called proof of concept, POC. So you'll hear that word a lot on there. So for example, let me go back on that. So we have a client that came into our incubator after they were told that they needed to order a truckload of product. There was a problem with the formulation. So when we do formulations, what we recommend is we do what's called a tabletop. So a tabletop formulation is what we do. But then to get it into production, we then go to what's called proof of concept, right? So we go to a proof of concept, and then we'll see that there's always something wrong. So no matter what, there'll be a problem, right? So it could be in the look and feel, it could be on the can, it could be on the label, something didn't go right, the manufacturer didn't put the right pure cane sugar in there. So we've seen it all. But then we've also seen where they go straight to production because they want that lowest cost of goods sold. And then they see a problem, right? And they order a truckload of product and there's an expiration date on it and they end up throwing product away, right? So someone came into our incubator with that exact problem and we said, hey, what you need to do is have the proof of concept, show your distributors, show your clients, show those people before that. So those are the myths that we see, and we're going to turn all those myths on its head. Couple of things, right? Here's the steps that we do, right? One is foundation and IP. One is customer avatar. One is supply chain mastery, brand OTC, and retail and capital raising, right? So they're clear weekly milestones that we define by deliverables. I told you I was going to introduce myself. So my name is Sandro Pianconi. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fast Moving Consumer Goods. Both me and my partner Jorge have built several companies, distribution companies, both in the US and Mexico. We were a Miller beer distributor in Mexico. So we had to open accounts. We were in supermarkets, convenience stores, 7-Elevens. We also distributed products for other people like Monster, 5 Hour Energy, different accounts. So we knew what it takes to open up accounts. In the US, Jorge distributed to over 17,000 accounts. So we know of what we speak. We did it. We've been doing it for 30 years. We're going to tell you a little bit how things have changed, right? We've launched over 1,000 items. We've written several books on the subject. Jorge is the author of Build Your Beverage Empire. I think it's on its 3rd edition. It's used in different colleges. He's meeting people now that maybe read the book 10 years ago. They went and got a job somewhere. Now they're launching a product on their own and they reach out to us. We just launched a new book last year called Wholesale MBA. You can go to Amazon and get it, or if you work with us, you'll get a signed copy of that book. We've taken a couple of companies public, one on the NASDAQ, someone that was in our incubator. What kind of products? We've launched over 1,000 consumer products, food, beverage, supplements, alcohol, real SKUs, real shelves, real distribution. So what do we help with? We help with formulation, manufacturing, supply chain, online sales, wholesale distribution, retail sales, and export to Mexico if that's something you want to do. Here was one of the eye drinks. It's a doctor that came up with an eye drink. He's an optometrist. He had this idea for years, and we helped him to come into fruition. He was also on our team. We brought him and Calmara, the energy drink, down on the bottom. We brought him to the show last week, and they crushed it. So they did a great job, both of them doing it. Some clients we worked with in the past and still work with. Rick Ross, if you know who that is, Cheech and Chong, and Snoop Dogg. We currently make product for them, supply product to them, and working on a special beverage for Snoop Dogg. So 90-day blueprint from beverage idea to global brand. We can show you all the different ways that we'll do it, and we're going to go step by step so you can see this, right? But this is actually the structure on how we do it, right? Sorry about that. So step 1, foundation. This is probably the most important thing before you decide to do anything. And I know most people say, hey, I'm just a founder, I'm starting. You need to set up your corporation the correct way, right? So we meet a ton of people that either are starting and they're just starting it on their own, which their own private on themselves. We don't want that, right? If you're going to come into the incubator, or their accountant or attorney told them they need to do an LLC. Unless you're going to raise capital or you're wealthy on your own and there's going to be a couple of people, an LLC might work. But 2 reasons why we set up the C-Corp. One is because there's what's called Rule 1202. If you have an exit, and you should always be building your company to have an exit, you want what's called Rule 1202. It does not work on an S-Corp. It does not work on a C-Corp. It only works on S-Corp. It only works on a C-Corp. So that's your founder shares. When you go for an exit, you're going to pay 0 capital gains. Okay. So That's why we do it. Second, we have you set it up in a zero state tax. Zero state tax. Yeah. So no matter where you are, even if you're live in California or live in Illinois, you can set up your brand and your company both in California, I'm sorry, in Nevada, Texas, or Wyoming. So zero state tax. So that's the pillar number one. Then, of course, there's trademarks. You would be surprised how many people come to us or I meet them at trade shows and they don't own a trademark. You need, if you're going to launch a brand, you need to have a trademark, right? That's what this is for. We're just trying to keep you out of trouble. You need to do that. So one of the things we do is it's not so much doing the see if the name's available. It's by class. So for a little story, we're investors in, we own a tobacco company and brands. So we own different brands in Mexico under the class of cigarettes. So we own Polo, we own 90210. So obviously we're not trying to sell shirts or hats, but we were selling a tobacco brand on that. So it's really the classes that you need to work on and certain things you can trademark like a copyright or a patent look and feel. What you can't do is a lot of people want to patent their formula. It just doesn't work, right? You could spend a lot of money. Attorney will take your money. You'll probably bid $20,000, $30,000, and then you're going to find out that you cannot trademark a recipe, right? So please don't do that, but please do your trademark. It's not as much as you think. Last but not least, on the foundation part is tax strategy. We show you how to qualify for R&D tax credits. If you say, what does that mean? If you have an existing business, which a lot of our people do, you are able to spend money on formulations, on samples, on a lot of things to get up, and it's a tax credit that you can take off future earnings, or if you have an existing business, you can take it off of your payroll tax. So that's huge, right? Think of it as the government paying you to launch your product to see if it works or not, right? So that's awesome. Number two, probably the most important part, and if Jorge was here, he would explain it better. Before you design a product, we need to know who your avatar is. We need to know who your perfect customer is that's going to buy this product. We need to know how old they are. Is it male? Is it female? What do they do? Where do they hang out? Where do they work? Where do they, if they go to the gym, if not. A lot of people I meet say, oh, my product's for everyone. Anyone can buy my product. Well, think that through. It's not, not exactly correct, right? So what you need to know is who your target market is, who's your avatar, and then we work backwards. Where are they shopping, right? Is it D2C? Then we can figure out the size of the bottle, the size of the can. All those things we can work on to figure out where we come up with the product, right? And there's a lot of times when we do this exercise that the person comes in with one idea, and then by the time we're done, the idea got better, the plan got better, the cost of goods got better, right? So that's what you need to really, really focus on. If you work with us or not, you need to think about who your customer avatar is, right? That's the perfect person. You're going to design this product for them. Then on that is then we can figure out, once we look at that, we can see how many people are buying that product. We can reverse engineer. There's a lot of things we can do to do that, but we need to know who that person is. Second, we need to know is what problem are we solving, right? We have a saying around here in the office, an entrepreneur, my kids ask me, what does an entrepreneur do? You solve a problem, you make money by solving a problem, right? So your product has to solve a problem that's not in the marketplace. So where we see a lot of people coming to us is that they're, maybe they work for a beverage company, or they're a doctor, or they see even themselves, they say, I'm designing this product for me because I can't find that product out there, right? Sometimes we can find it easily, sometimes we can't. And then there's a reason why that's doing it, or just another delivery vehicle. So for example, probably a lot of you on this call take creatine, right? So the old fashioned way to take the creatine was to take it, put it in your glass of water and drink it. That's probably been 20 or 30 years. Then some young, smart guys came out and figured out a way to put it in the gummies, right? Doing very well, crushing on gummies. Now we have some technology, a tablet. We're looking at a straw technology. We're looking to put it in a protein bar. So it's the same product with a delivery vehicle, right? So those are the things that we would discuss with you, but you really need to know who the avatar is and what's the problem you're solving. Then After we know that, then we can look at ingredients, right? We can look at what ingredients are going to go in it. How expensive are the ingredients, right? That all goes into your formulation, right? Then your co-man, you're going to make, a lot of the people we deal with do not want to be in the manufacturing business. And we would recommend you don't go into the manufacturing business unless the product works, right? The product's working and you're killing it and it's scaling and you say, hey guys, we want to build our own manufacturing facility. We can help do that. But 99.9% of our clients don't do that, right? They find a co-man. We call it a plan A and a plan B, right? So probably someone on the East Coast, someone on the West Coast, because you don't know where your product's going to sell yet, right? We all think it's going to sell in the hometown that you're in, but it might kill it in Florida, it might kill it in California. And then your shipping, is very expensive, especially if you're doing a beverage, right? Shipping is very, very expensive. So we'll want to make it on the East Coast or the West Coast. Verifications. Does the product, Amazon may, if it's a dietary supplement, they may ask you that they want NSF, COAs. So all those things are very important to do it. And then last but not least, logistics and fulfillment, right? We work with you. What's the best way to do logistics and fulfillment? Most people you hear, hey, I started in my garage. They want to take the product and package it and ship it. We recommend against that for a whole host of reasons. One, insurance. B, a lot of these shipping companies have contracts, huge contracts with UPS, USPS, FedEx. They could ship it cheaper than you could ship it, right? And it's immediate, right? They get an order. If you have a job or you have another business, they can pick it, pack, and ship it. They're insured. They can have multiple warehouses. You're going to save a lot of that money. And last but not least, when the time comes, we'll get to raising capital. You'll want to there'll be an audit that will be necessary. You want a third party person that's not there that can audit it. So step 4, modern brand building, right? After we know who the avatar is, is the product for men? Is it for women? Is it for men 18 to 24? Then we can start working on the logo. We'll ask you the lore. Why did you come up with this product? The backstory, the feel, the packaging. We work on all that, right? Modern brand building, we call it. The other thing is people come to us. First thing they want to do is they want to go into retail. Can you help me go into retail? So in our incubator, we have over a dozen clients. We're in 30,000 stores. That doesn't mean one product's in 30,000 stores. It means are in a certain amount of stores. You don't want to go into stores right away. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, and we could show you emails. I wish I could put them in there, that the buyer for this category is not looking at anything until third quarter of 2026. And you're going, well, I have payroll, I got stuff. Hey, I want to do it right away, right? So there's certain ones that could do it. Second, good news, bad news. They'll place an order and they say, hey, we want it in 30 days and we need so much product and you're not ready, right? Or you don't have the capital for it, right? So all those things come to it. And then the other thing that you want to build that relationship with your customer, right? You want to have the data, right? If you're going to go raise capital, you want to know who the person is buying it. How many times do they buy it? When you're in retail, you don't own that data. The stores own it, right? They might tell you, hey, we sold so many in each location, right? But they're not giving you if you were to sell direct. So we focus on D2C, right? We focus, what's changed since COVID is TikTok. Before in COVID, you would go to your local liquor store and you would buy an energy drink, right? You would buy an energy drink and you go and buy it. Now people are ordering online and they're shipping to you, right? When we started, you would go in and you would say, hey, I want to order this product, or you would go in, an impulse sale was under $5. What's funny now is an impulse sale on TikTok is under $40. So as long as you don't go over $40, you could sell something on TikTok. They will try it, right? They'll give you a chance and do it. So what we say is on TikTok, there is no gatekeeper, right? So tomorrow you can list a product and do it. Second is you get paid immediately. So you get paid the next day. You're not waiting for Walmart, Target, Sprouts. That tells you they're going to pay you in 30 days, but it might take 60 or 90 days. So you will know going in what it is, and you're going to build your crowd of people that know you, know the brand, know the product, and so on. So that's what we recommend before we go to retail, okay? But we do have a retail strategy. We have built in, if you say, hey, my product's already working, I know it, I have inventory, we know how to master working with brokers, slotting fees, road shows. It can be done. There's a way to do it. But here's the interesting thing going back to this. As you can imagine, who's looking at TikTok, right? There's actual buyers that their job is to go on TikTok looking at what things are trending, and then they will call you and say, hey, we want to carry this brand. That's a lot easier sales pitch to get it into stores. And you can even say, hey, we're not ready. We'll do a 10 store test, a 20 store test. So you manage the expectations. You're not paying slotting fees because they want to be on that trend for the next hot thing, right? So that's how we manage our retail strategy, is when people are coming to us asking for it, right? And of course, we go to different, so we have one of our clients, the iDrink. It's a doctor that had this idea for 3 or 4 years. We helped them bring it to fruition. And so what we're looking to sell it is, yes, in all the health and wellness stores, but we're looking at vision stores. So if you can imagine, there's chains that have 1,000 vision stores. Guess what? They're not getting hit all the time to sell beverages. So we're out there, we're talking to those buyers to bring in that product, right? Then the next part, any entrepreneur, any CEO has to be able to budget, right? And they have to be able to raise capital. I know a lot of our clients, when they come in, they're high net worth individuals. They say, we don't want to give up any equity. We have the capital. That's fine until they start scaling, and then they're getting truckload orders and they need $1 million. And their wife says, hey, we don't want to do this. So we can help raise capital. There's different ways to do PO financing, AR financing, Reg CF, Reg F, or just take the company public. If it's going this way, if you're fortunate enough and you're selling $1 million a month, it's something that we could actually take public and raise you capital to do it. But all depending on where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, right? Cost of implementation, people ask this all the time, right? Where do I start? That's the main point, right? Where do I start? Do I start with my lawyer? Do I start with my accountant? Sometimes we're on the phone and we're negotiating something with the person's attorney because they feel like he needs to be involved in that. The attorney is the last person you want on a call with a co-man, right? That's the last person you want. You want someone who has experience negotiating. Is there some legal involved? Absolutely, but in pieces, right? Setting up the corporation is a small part. Doing the trademark, they're specialists, that's another part. CPAs, we just been through the rodeo. So everything we talk about is because we've made mistakes and we know which ones to hire and which ones not. And we come up with a system. So our job is to take you from being a hobbyist to a CEO. That's our job. That's what we do. We talk about exits, right? When you start a company, your idea, if you come into incubators, that you need to have an exit, right? So we have a playbook. We call it the Poppy Playbook. We reverse engineered how they did it. Think about this yourselves. 3 years ago, you never heard of Poppy. So when they started, they were the product on the left, right? That beverage looked like a medicinal beverage, right? That's what it came. So they came in, not to our incubator, they came into a fund that put capital into it. They did it on TikTok. They incentivized all the TikTok influencers to sell the product. Not only were they compensating them in cash, but in stock. And 3 years later, they did what we would call a sprint, and they ended up selling to the company for $2 billion. So they sold it to Pepsi. We were at the show last week. They had the whole Pepsi booth, which was beautiful, spectacular with all their brands. And because they just closed, they had a little section with Poppy, right, with their drinks, which was pretty cool. And Poppy had their own booth, by the way. So that was already planned from 6 months ago. So obviously they pivoted, right? So their investors came to them and said, hey, you want it to look like a supplement. We want it to look like a modern beverage, right? They went and found all the right TikTokers. And then they also incentivized DSD distributors by giving them equity in the company. So they're not the first to do it, by the way. They're not the first. Vitamin water was the first. If you guys remember vitamin water, Coca-Cola had to write a check for $4 billion. And the distributors made more money on that sale than they did ever selling vitamin water, obviously. So that's the playbook that we set up. Obviously, we do it with what we call micro influencers, but we have people that believe in the brand, they're shareholders in the brand, and you're giving up a very small amount of equity for that. I love this story more than anything. This is a local San Diego company. I don't know where everyone's from, but we're based here in San Diego. I happened to meet the founder of Once Upon a Farm. He is now the CEO of another company, but he was the founder when they met Jennifer Garner, who she came in, she promoted it. Just in February, they did an IPO of a $724 million IPO. I believe it's over $1 billion now. It started out of a garage here in University City, right? But they had here's what when I tell people when they started, and he verified everything we said. To get to know what the client wants, they had jars of this product. They would go to farmers markets. We recommend everyone goes to a farmer market and show your product, even if it's just a concept. You're going to meet people. You're going to meet young people, old people, hippies, everyone in between, and you would show them the product, see what they think about it, and if they'd be willing to pay for this product, right? So this is what we recommend to everyone. And there's a story that actually happened, right? And then Sal's, we believe, will be the next Poppy. It's a sauce, a hot sauce that's out raising it. So eliminating the friction, right? We talk to a lot of people. People say, hey, I really want to do this, but I don't have the time. So our program, we built it for busy professionals that are working, right? That can focus 1 to 2 hours per week, right? We give you enough time that we spend 1 hour to 2 per week with a structured roadmap, right? If it's structured, that's how it would work, right? They also say, hey, I've never done this before. I'm worried. I've never done this before. That's fine. We've done it 1,000 times, right? We're going to make sure you don't make the same mistakes that we made. And then again, there's a sequence of events, right? So we make sure you go through those sequence of events to do it. There's a couple of ways to work with us, right? We have a 12-week launch program. What we ask you to do is we set up a call with you. You come on, and depending where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, we can help you. So a lot of people on these calls, they're starting at 0, right? So we have a way to help. Some people say, I already have the formula. I just need help in manufacturing. Some people come on and say, hey, I have the formulation. I have the product. I need help to sell it. So that just depends where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. We have ways where we can do it where it's a 12-week do-it-yourself course. We have it where you get one-on-one with both myself and Jorge. There's different ways to come into the program to be part of the incubator. But ultimately, at the end of it, you will have an MVP, right? Minimal viable product, right? That's what we want, you to have a minimal viable product and a business plan. So you can then go out and say, hey, this is going to work, this is not going to work, or raise capital, right? So that's what comes on those different things. So just imagine we're May 1st, so right, June, July, August 1st, we're sitting here, you're on the call with us August 1st, you're going to have your corporation structured properly for taxes, you're going to have your trademark filed with IP fully protected, you're going to have a liable manufacturer selected and aligned, where you're going to know what your margins are, what your cost of goods sold is, what your retail price is, what the price to the retailer is, you're going to need a distributor in the middle, and you're going to have a product ready for market. So that's what would happen in 90 days. It's not a dream. We can get it done. And I said, we've done it over 1,000 times. Couple things you can go in. What we ask is you can ask questions here, but if you want to set up a meeting with myself or Jorge, go in and scan the call so we can set up a call. Or Fernando, can you drop in the code so they can go in and set up a personal call with us? Either Max or if you can go in and drop that off. But at this time, well, we got a lot of people to come on, and we got a lot of people on as I was talking, we had a lot of people come on TikTok Live. So I can open it up for questions. You can either put them in the chat, or I can unmute you and then answer the question. So this would be a good time for questions. On the trademark, let me tell you a little bit about the trademark. People ask me all the time on the trademark, hey, once I do it, can I start selling? So the answer is, with our attorney, he's going to give you a 90% thing that it won't ever be, you'll be able to get the trademark after he does the search. So you can launch the product with what's called a TM, right? So you have a little TM next to it. If you've seen that TM, or what you can do is wait It takes about a year to get the trademark, and then you'll have the R. But most of my clients, once they have it's filed, they can go out and do the TM, and you could start selling. All right. Someone have questions? Let's see on here. We'll answer any questions. You could just put it into the chat, or let's see, or we can answer your questions. I'll unmute you. Sorry, guys. Their name up. So who do we got here? We got Babana. Hopefully I said that right. Ernest, Michael, Nabil, Robbie, Susan. Who do we got? Dag. These are just names here. I can't see all of them. Anyone have any questions for us? You can put it in the chat, or you can go in and just book the call. Fernando, did we drop that in there, the link? Oh yeah, we dropped it in, yeah. So there's a link in there. So two things, calling from the world, a question in Florida. Oh, that's cool. Sign up for a free call so you can go in and book a call on my calendar. I think tomorrow we're booked, but next week we can have time. Or if you want to go in and look at our YouTube channels, you can go in there and watch replays, and there's previous webinars. So I would say the webinars are pretty much all the same, except sometimes we have special guests. Last week, we did it at the show. So if you want to see what a trade show looks like, or how we did it, and at the NAMA show, that was pretty exciting. And we have a bunch of shows coming up. So every month or two, there's a trade show. But obviously, you need to have product to come to the trade show, right? We don't want you to come to a trade show without a product. Of course, you can walk it as a guest. But to really experience it, you want to have a product and you want to talk to people. But what I call a trade show is a farmer's market. So I would go to a farmer's market. They're pretty inexpensive. And I would test my concept and test my idea on that. So that's what I would recommend. Do we have any questions here? I can't believe I did that great of a job. Hey, why doesn't everyone tell me what product they're thinking? Why don't you put that in the chat, if we've worked with it or not? Again, we've done over 1,000 items, from bakery goods to alcohol to gummies to vapes. We've done quite a few items. Shampoo. We're working on a special protein bar right now. So. Question. Let's see. Oh, I think we're good. Am I missing someone here? No. Okay. Well, again, if you'd like to look at this, you can go online and see it on YouTube. You could set up a call with me. If you don't want to talk about your product, you could set up a call with me. That's free. And then, yes, your commitment to launch a product, it's just going to depend. A lot of people want to know how much it costs. It all depends where you are in your entrepreneur journey and what support you need from us, right? If it's just formulation, if it's supply chain, or it's the whole thing, we could figure that out and help you get there. But gourmet chocolate sauces, which model after our current convection variety? Today, I don't have questions ready. I'd like to absorb today's call. I will do links and special. Perfect. Functional beverage, but farther along than anticipated. Listen, the focus is, okay, last time focus is capital raising. Of course, every entrepreneur has to raise capital, right? Nothing to be embarrassed about, right? Everyone does it. Even Elon Musk is raising capital. So there's ways to do it, right? If you're in our incubator, we have an investment banker that specializes in consumer goods. Of course, we're going to be tough. We're going to ask a lot of questions, right? Not just the idea, right? You got to have a minimal viable product. You got to have, we call them baby wins. We got to have some baby wins. So baby wins meaning you're selling stuff online. you're killing it at a farmer's market, and or like we have a lot of doctors, for example, they're selling 70 12 packs a month, right? 850 bottles a month at their practice, right? So first thing we said is, hey, we got to start opening up more practices, not opening up more, selling to other doctors that can recommend this. So what's the perfect timing is when someone is there getting their doctor checking out, incentivize your receptionist to sell the product. Working great, right? Working fantastic, right? So it's a retail location with one product, right? An eye drink, right? Which is the best time when you're thinking about it is when you're checking out from there. So, all right. Well, set up a meeting for me. We can go over it. And again, any questions you can have, bring them to the. Yes, Susan, you have a question.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you, because I cannot find my raise the hand
That's
buttons.
okay.
I
That's
don't know
okay.
what's happening.
The old-fashioned
And
way.
sorry, I just came from the sauna, so I'm all red.
That's
Uh, when you listed at near the end there about having a product ready by August 1st, and you listed all the things, cost of goods sold, retail, wholesale, distribution, distributors, uh, does it include the marketing with the TikTok, finding those influencers, setting up that whole TikTok shop, or do we do that on our own?
So after the 90 days, right, you have a good problem, right? You say, hey, I have a product now. How do I sell it? Right. So if yes, we have a TikTok agency that will set it up, do it, have the influencers. It depends on what the product is, right? So if it's health and wellness, much easier. We have some clients coming in now that are alcohol, so we're finding bartenders that will do it. So I don't know what product it is, but the answer is yes. For it, and maybe you tell us something that we haven't heard, and we might say no. Let's hold off. Let's for example, there's some really cool websites, like spectacular websites that sell to people that go to farmers markets. And if we were just to list on that and spend a little money in marketing, you could do more than what you would do on TikTok. So
Are
again,
you
I don't know what
seriously
the
talking about literal farmers markets, or are you talking trade shows?
farmers markets.
Like,
So again, depending on what your product is, right? Depending on what your product is, right? We have
yeah,
people. So for example, we have someone and they do an olive oil, and they're going to the farmer's market and they're selling it, right? So
right.
if they come to us and say, hey, we want to be in Sprouts, we say, hey, yours is a high end olive oil, right? You're going to put it Sprouts. They're not going to buy because they're next to all these different ones. But if you're at and you're tasting it on bread and you're handing it to people and you're telling the story, they're buying it right now. That content, we're using that content to go on TikTok. But you're going to know after the first, second, third, fourth farmers market. They're spectacular, by the way. Again, I don't know what part of town you live in, but we have. So I live in Chula Vista, San Diego. We have a good one, but there's one in Little Italy that's 50 times better. It's on a Saturday morning, and it crushes it. I mean, crushes. Again, depends what the product is, right? If you tell me I have a tequila, I'm going to say probably not the best place to go sell it, right?
And another question, are you providing a service, or are you also taking equity?
So on the initial, until you get the MVP, the minimal viable product, it's a service. After you have the product and you do it, we have the investment banker that can come in, and then we would partner with them and take equity.
So that's not an that's a non-negotiable, you mean? If we work with you, you provide a service, we pay you for a service, and then you have first right of equity?
No, not at all. Again, we don't know who our clients are. So you may say, I have all the capital in the world. I don't need to raise any capital. That's
Okay,
great.
got it.
That's great.
I just needed to ask.
If
Okay.
you say, hey, I need, and again, it depends what you need capital for. There's capital because I have a PO from Target, right? That's a lot easier than, hey, I need capital for,
Right. But you're not advising that in the beginning. You're saying get the proof in D2C before you try to go wholesale.
that's right. Well, because we're going to see pricing, we're going to see packaging, we're going to see a lot of our clients started with one idea, and by the time it was done, it was a different idea, right?
Okay.
Only because you're getting customer feedback, right?
Sure.
You know, we see people, they're jumping on planes, they're flying to Walmart, they're flying to the buyers, they're doing, and they're saying, yeah, this is too big, it's this, you need it, you know. And again, all good, that's all great information, but now you've already done the product, you've ordered a truckload. Now what do you do? Right? So what we recommend is first farmers market, and then D2C, and then you get it. You're building your, we call it your tribe, or your customers who know and do what you do, right? So again, we don't know your background, but let's say you said, hey, I'm a writer and I have 1 million people following me. Wow, right? A different conversation than, hey, I don't have no followers, no capital, no this. It's just different, right? So each person's different that comes through these things. We meet a lot of great people. Some are maybe just not ready for this, and some are. But if you are ready and you want to launch and you have a little bit of capital, where do people help you?
Okay, thank you so much.
Everything we just told you, we just gave you a thing to do it. Think of it this way, right? We just gave everyone a roadmap how to do it, right? But here's the difference. We're an incubator, so we have a VP of sales, we have a VP of marketing, we have a trademark attorney, we have all these things in our PR, right? So remember I told you baby wins? Part of our package, our baby wins afterwards, is we put out press releases. Hey, we got into Sprouts. Hey, we did this, or we got listed on Walmart.com. There's so many secrets that we've been doing in 30 years. We could get your product in the Walmart at a local level, but you're still in Walmart. Right? You're seeing how the turns are, right? So those of you who probably, I saw someone on there who said they do an energy drink, right? To stay in Sprouts, you got to be able to sell 3 bottles per week. Now, I know what you're going to say. God, that's easy. Actually not. You need those turns, right? So we have strategies that you could turn those 3, you could turn 30 a week, right? And it changes from the buyer. So those are little things that we do to do it. But from the equity standpoint, it's only if you need to raise equity and you decide when you want to raise equity, right? So obviously it's all about valuation, right? Usually we see it after the fact where they've done it, they've raised it, and they're scaling. When you're going this way, it's a lot easier to raise capital than when you're here or you're going this way. So. All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much for your time. Set up a call for us, and we will answer direct questions. And just so we can understand where you are in your journey and how we can help you. Again, we get people that are just starting out to, we have companies that do 100 million a year in revenue, and they're in our incubator. It just depends. You know, they're hiring us just for formulations, or they have a supply chain issue, or just depends what we do, and then we bring that to solve that problem. So, question: I'm on the formulation stage, getting the prototype soon. The foundation legal part is done by myself. I did LLC. Would you recommend me change the LLC? Unless you have all the money in the world and you're going to do it, and you don't care about paying taxes if and when you sell the company, leave the LLC. but our recommendation is, you're still started, kill the LLC, or use it for a real estate property, or do whatever you're going to do with an LLC, or just kill it. Start a C-Corp, either in Nevada or Wyoming, and that's who owns the trademark and owns those things. Because when you go out to raise capital, LLCs are clunky, they don't work. A C-Corp works. And also when you go to sell the company, and have an exit, you're going to pay capital gains. So again, unless you really want to pay 20% or 23% plus in your state, you can leave the LLC, but we recommend not to do it. So, all right, everyone, thank you very much. We will talk soon. Oh, there's another question in Zoom. Hold on. I think I got it, I think. Nope, I got them all. All right, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.